game plan, let's talk about current market conditions. So let's look at spiders. So we do earnings season. I think over 50% of S&P companies already announced earnings. We have earnings from Amazon. Amazon is down, basically giving up yesterday's gains. And then we do have Intel is up 6%, Amazon is down 4%, Capital One Financial turning positive. Next week, we're probably going to have close to 75% of all the S&P 500 earnings reporting, including Apple, right? Apple is the last kind of mega cap, trillion-dollar market cap company that everybody is waiting for the earnings. So what do we expect long term? We do see kind of this pretty good strong rally of the 50-day moving average. So we pull back to the 50-day moving average on probably worse than expected earnings in the beginning, right? The UPS, AT&T, we had pretty sharp pullback in these names, and the market did pull back. And today and yesterday, we basically recover all the losses from last week. And again, knocking on the door of a year-to-date high, right? We've seen this kind of scenario throughout the year at the same level. So what is the next move, right? And we've seen this kind of peak and trough rally, right? So on one side, right, one scenario, we kind of, we're going through these consolidations at the top, and then we reverted back. We did this in December, right? We had worst December in a long time. We had pretty weak March, and right. And then the question going into June, right? Do we revert back going into summer, or do we make new? Do we continue to trade higher, right? So 380 from 413. What is it? Let's call it 35 points to the downside, right? Or 35 points to the upside, right? If you're a short-term trader, or even if you're a long-term trader, 10% up, 10% down, big difference, right? It's a big difference. So what is the bullish case, right? The bullish case is that the bar is set very low, right? And companies like Meta, right? Expectation was negative earnings, they deliver positive earnings, right? Amazon, expectation was negative earnings or positive earnings. Meta was negative earnings growth, and they deliver positive earnings growth. Meta, right? So bar is set low, and you still see these kind of mega cap technologies like Meta, Amazon, and Microsoft delivering better than expected results, right? And let's assume Apple is also going to deliver similar results to the other mega cap technology, and we're heading higher. Unemployment is still low, right? Unemployment is still low. Consumers are spending, right? We got the data from the GDP yesterday, and even though it was lower than expected, but you still see growth in consumer spending, right? So the bottom line, consumer is strong, unemployment is low. JP Morgan said that they're still lending money, right? And they don't see liquidity issues, and loans originations are the same. Standards are not changing, and they do see capital inflows, deposit inflows from regional banks. So pretty strong narrative. Dollar is weak, right? Dollar continues to be weak. So we have this concept of soft landing, right? Very strong narrative. Has been a strong narrative since October, right? We went through several iterations from 52-week lows in October, right? But we do see since October, what is this? 6 months, more than 6 months. Let's call it 7, 8 months. So for 8 months, we continue to make higher highs and higher lows, right? So that's the soft landing narrative. And going into summer, earnings are not as bad as expected, and move higher, right? That's scenario number one. right? And as a trader, you always want to go through both scenarios, right? You should never feel like, okay, there's only market moves in one direction. Market never moves in one direction, right? Market always moves in multiple directions, up and down. There's usually some kind of bias to the upside or to the downside, but you want to go through this different scenario, create a case, and then you just have to make a decision. You know, in case one, in case two, or I have no idea, and I think it's just going to be neutral, right? So the other scenario is two, right? You're probably not going to have, you know, as earnings going to wind down in the next 2 weeks, you're probably not going to have this consolidation for much longer, right? It's already been probably longer than in December, probably like December, right? It's very similar to November, December consolidation, a little bit longer than it was in February. So at some point, market is going to either move up on a soft landing or move down on a hard landing narrative, right? Hard landing narrative is, what is the hard landing? Yield inversion, right? So yield inversion, leading indicators deteriorate, manufacturing, services, PMI deteriorating, you know, still very high interest rates, Fed is not pivoting, and you can see revenue slowing down, right? Just because Meta is up 10%, but they deliver very mute revenue growth, right? And same thing goes for Microsoft, same thing goes for Amazon, right? Even though the bar is set low, but soft landing narrative expects that Q3, Q4, the revenue of S&P 500 companies will reaccelerate, where based on GDP data in Q1, lower than expected, and already Q3, Q4, everybody expects negative GDP. Not everybody, but most economists expect negative GDP. So the revenue will continue to decelerate, right? And the theme of Q4 and Q1, cost cutting structure, right? All these companies cutting cost, and they're able to beat the bad expectations. The idea is that Q2, Q3, Q4, this narrative is not going to work, right? Just because you cut in your expenses, but if you're not growing your revenue, at some point, you know, does it justify to pay a multiple of 40 on Amazon? So that's the hard landing narrative in a nutshell, right? So what do you do as a trader, right? I don't think going into summer scenario 3 is plausible, right? It's not gonna, this kind of going nowhere in the, you know, in the past since, I mean, basically since, well, end of March, right? So for the past months, we didn't go anywhere, right? We're trading in one line. I mean, maybe another week, maybe another 2 weeks, but at some point, it's either move up or move down. So so go into the scenario, I would write down a journal with pros and cons, and which scenario do you think is going to happen? Is it going to be 1 or is it going to be 2?